Hello everyone, I'm Sean and welcome back to Awen Lutherie. It is a freezing Wednesday right after Christmas, and instead of doing any real work I said I'd do a quick workshop tour for you guys. Some of you have been asking what the workshop layout is like, and hopefully this will answer those questions. If you have your own workshop, maybe you'll get a couple of ideas from it. Maybe you'll just see places where I can improve, who knows. Anyway, this is my workshop, the outside obviously. It's a nice wooden structure in the back of my garden, which gets very nice. I get roses that come up whenever roses come out. I'm not sure when exactly. And yeah, it's nice. So I've got my cup of tea. Make yourself one, get comfy, and let's head inside. Welcome in. Let's start immediately right here at the front door. So as you can see, I have my planer thicknesser and underneath my thickness planer. Forgot the name for it, it's too cold, too early. So I have these by the door because the dust extraction on them isn't fantastic. Well, my setup for it anyway. So using it here, I can pull it out to about here and blow a lot of the dust out the door. And that's just really handy, you know, doesn't cover everything in dust. Easy. So they're grand tools. They're a bit small for what I want at the moment. If I was to upgrade anything, it would be the two of them into one bigger machine probably. Anyway, let's move on. We'll go below here. This is all of my storage for my smaller bits of wood. This bench is 2 foot deep. So anything up to about just over 2 foot goes in underneath this. Underneath in all of these blue boxes is all the really small offcuts of barely usable wood. But it's still, you know, big enough to use, so I'm going to keep it. Up on top, my chop saw. And this is so close to the door and so easy to get at for a good reason. Whenever I'm bringing longer stock in, because I'm not always making guitars, I'm not always cutting up large pieces of slabs or whatever. Sometimes I do bring in more dimensional lumber, and that needs to be broken down as quickly as possible, and that's why the chop saw is here. We're talking about the bench here. This is one of the bench. When I first moved in, I made 3 of these monstrosities. They're 8 foot long, 2 foot deep, and you know, give loads and loads of storage area, but they're massive. Having 3, way too many. This is the only one left. But good, sturdy, they work. Up above, I have storage for larger, longer pieces of wood. And over here, kind of middle-sized pieces of wood. So there you go, right back to the wall. I don't know, that's 4 foot, give or take. I'm not really sure. Now, down here, these are my big, chunky, awkward bits. So they're all just slabs, what's left of slabs, a lot of them. There's this lovely piece, actually, I hope you can see it, of spalted beech. Really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? The spalting is very apparent. Very black spalting through it. Underneath, a bit of cypress, which was actually cut down in the garden a couple of years ago. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but I'll do something fun. Moving over to here, I have more slabs, kind of larger pieces, a bit longer. There's one long one that goes the full way. It's about 8 foot long. And then the drilling area is here, obviously. So I have my record power drill press with all of my bits, easy to hand to access there. More bit sets over here. So I have my Forstner bits, my better Famag twister, or brad point bits, actually they're not twisted at all. A couple of extra bits and pieces, there's hole saws back there. Charging station. Up here, I have some old, really beat up, they're cheap, they're not even worthless anymore, guitars up there. I use them for measuring up if I ever need, for anything really. So for the guitar stands I was making, I use them as base measurements to make sure that they fit into the stands. Kind of handy to have knocking around, and like that one is plywood, made of plywood, really old, no name, probably from the 80s or something. and the plywood has even started to delaminate, so it's just totally worthless. The classical guitar is one of those really dirt cheap classicals. You know the ones, you kind of have them floating around, you buy them for $20 in the first place. Miscellaneous storage, sandpaper storage, everything just nice, easy to hand. It's something I think is really important. Just grab it all. You don't want to be wasting time fumbling around. Let's move over to the central cluster here, which is the bigger machines. Table saw, kind of front and center. It's a big bulky machine. Not really one that's used specifically for guitar building, but because this is more of a general workshop that focuses on guitar building, table saw is really, really handy. Just for making jigs, even preparing plywood stock. Who knows? Great machine, definitely would buy one again. Moving on a bit more, I have my chip extractor, which set up so that it's accessible to the entire machine cluster, we'll call it, in the center of the room. Right, let's move back here. So just here are the powered hand tools, I guess. I don't use them that often, so they're a bit out of the way. You know, my circular saw takes down stock. There's a spider living in it. And I use the biscuit joiner in my guitar stands just to join the two pieces. Pretty handy tool, actually. Weird one. Never would have come across it in guitar building, but really glad I did. I never use the powered plane, just never. And the angle grinder, you've seen that featured a few times before. So down here I have, this is a temporary place. It's my CNC machine, totally set up, obviously packed away. There's a little bit of a problem at the moment with one of the stepper motors, and I'm just kind of shelved it for the moment. I'll deal with that when I have the chance. My stereo up here gets a lot of use. You wouldn't know it from watching my videos, but I listen to music all the time. A lot of times when the footage is sped up and you can't hear anything, the music is playing. But you know, copyright and all that. Up on top, I actually have, this is a 9-inch thick, 9-inch wide shelf. Goes the entire perimeter, and it's just kind of a catch-all. All of stuff goes up there. Kind of not the prettiest thing to look at, but it's super handy. Moving on, I have all my finishing stuff. I have veneers down here and boxes of thin offcuts, which, I mean, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know I don't like to waste material at all. Like, that's a cavity cover or a truss rod cover, who knows what it'll be, but gets kept there. And so there's like loads of boxes of them, small scraps of plywood and stuff. They're really handy for making jigs, just adding shims, who knows what you could use them for. So back here in the corner I have some of my larger clamps, a couple of templates. You know, these are awkward things to store. They're neck templates, they're neck profile templates and stuff. They're a bit long, they just put them in the corner, forget about them. I have my lathe here, which I only just set up. It's really not been a long-standing thing. I haven't used it much at all. I want to experiment for the next month or so, making tool handles, and it's pretty much tool handles. I want to make some of my other tools a bit prettier. And yeah, I have my other, like my router, my sander, which are hand power tools that actually get used very often. I mean, especially the orbital sander, I hope you can see it there, is used constantly. Every single project that gets used on it. And I suppose last in this corner, squirreled away, but not because I don't like it, is my bandsaw, which is a record power BS400. And it's a lovely, fairly sizable, meaty saw. It's absolutely great. I would be lost without it. Use it for everything from cutting out body profiles to cutting out neck profiles in general. Just quick cutting and resawing material, everything. Would buy one of these in the morning. And up above you can see here, there's my spare blades, my just other blades as well. Templates hanging from the rafters all throughout. Just really easy storage. Have my sandpaper up here and a couple of clamps and everything. And then over here we have my sanders, nicely tucked away. This one is on a mobile base because, well, it's back here. It's good for most kind of convex curves, but if I need to do a concave curve, this needs to be pulled out and then I can do it. You've also seen the belt sander, which that is a cheap one, not a great one, but it's a great tool to have. You know, if you were looking to get one, definitely do. Here is my router table, just in front, with the bits very easily at hand on the wall behind me. Really easy to grab, and it's very simply, it is, you know, you can buy these guys, they're quite expensive from what I've seen. This one is just, you can see, it's just a basic bench that I drilled a hole in the middle of and then lined up mounting holes for the 4 mounting screws. And it works perfectly, absolutely perfectly. And so underneath this guy, I have some tool chests full of vintage tools, good heavy iron, which makes this really tough to move, which is really what you want, especially with a router table. You do not want that thing vibrating across the room. We'll move on then to the fun part of the room, starting with the hand saws. And you know, they're not the neatest over here. They're not even the most pretty to look at, but they are nice and they're easy to get to. And hand saws are a funny one. They're a weakness of mine. I don't use them all that much in guitar building, but I mean, look at that. It's stunning. Put it back. Underneath then is my sharpening materials. They're cleaned up at the moment. I did a bit of cleaning before I started filming this, I'm not gonna lie. And that's usually not so neat. It's a bit more cluttered. These drawers actually were my grandfather's, and so I'm delighted to be able to have them and use them in my own workshop. Over here, smaller clamps, easy to get to. Again, I'm working here. This is the workbench that I'm almost always at. Clamps right there. Whenever I need to hold stuff together, turn around, grab it. Planes, chisels, you've seen all of this featured on the videos. You know what this stuff is at this stage. Just stuff. This is all the most regularly used things in the workshop. And for me, it's very important as I'm working here. I think it's first order retrieval, they call it. So if I need a plane, I turn around, there it is. I can plant my feet, turn around, grab any tool that I need instantly, which is super great. It's just so handy for me, just in my workflow. Up there is just kind of a catch-all of bottled stuff. So glues, there's water, it's mainly glue. There's like several types of glue up there. There's oils, there's water, and there's just more glue. There's plasters as well, because you'd be surprised how often you'd nick yourself while working. Over here is, I have my mallets, some other saws, files, hammers, hand drills, more clamps, screwdrivers, measuring tools, yeah, everything. And I suppose last but certainly not least is my workbench, where I spend, I'm not going to say 90%, but like 60-70% of my time here. And it's a very basic workbench. It's too low for me, first of all. The top is not thick enough, but it does the job perfectly. And one big thing about this, I suppose, well, it's a good size. It's not too big, it's not too small. And underneath I have a chest of drawers full of stuff and tools and bits. And I have another tool chest which is absolutely full of things, which means that this is really heavy and it doesn't move. So which is really good when you're planing anything, you know, you put a bit of stock down, you plane. Last thing you want to do is hit it and the whole bench flies across the room. So good bit of weight. If you are making your own bench, put a thicker top, but just make sure it's heavy. That's the important part. But that is pretty much it. This is my workshop, my little slice of heaven. It's small, it's dusty, but it's mine, and I like that. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully you liked the tour. Hopefully if you have your own workshop, maybe you got a couple of ideas from it. Maybe you've seen some glaring things I need to fix, so throw them down in the comment section. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit that bell icon to get notified whenever I post any more content, which I do have content coming up. It's in the pipeline. So thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all again soon.